Hello, this is a lecture on ethical considerations. It's still coming from Computer Science Chapter 2. Part of when we talk about hacking and social engineering and even viruses and things like that is we also have to talk about ethics. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Hopefully you know that. Right now, ethics is a huge field in computers because computers is a new field. The ethics of computers is still, we're still struggling with that. We're still asking really hard questions. Practically, it comes down to should you download illegal content off the internet, whether that be pornography or whether that be things like pirated movies and pirated music and things like that, or even pirated video games. And so it's important to note as we sort of build an ethic of that, that there are several groups right now who are putting out information trying to write ethical documents about what you should and shouldn't do. There is a Hackers Manifesto. You can go read it online, where a bunch of hackers got together a while back and said, this is what's going to constitute ethical hacking, and this is what constitutes unethical hacking. So they actually made a list that said, if you're hacking into systems to do these types of things, we think that should be good, even if it's illegal. And even though it might give you a bad reputation, there are certain protections that hacking can give. We know several hackers who would argue that they're hacking for ethical reasons. Edward Snowden is one of them. Whether you agree with him or not, he made a very ethical case for why you should hack. The Republicans and the Democrats, their systems and files have both been hacked here in America, and both been hacked by people who would say the American people deserve to know this about the people running for elected office. And so yeah, there's been all of that. So there is a manifesto out there. Just because they argue it doesn't mean they're right, but it just shows you that people are asking these questions. With that said, the government sort of provides some protections to the citizens. And now we are talking about the United States government here, but the United States government does protect information that is passed on the internet. There are actually several things that are protected. However, the top three categories are a patent, a copyright, and a trade secret. A patent is for an invention. It's for something that does something. Copyright is for written things. It's for something you wrote down. Trade secrets are a little bit more ambiguous, but they're sort of information about a company. And so a trade secret is an information about how Facebook runs or about how Apple does its distribution system. And trade secrets, if you can prove that somebody actually broke into your facility to steal that secret, then you can sue them. But it's pretty hard to prove that somebody stole a trade secret. The recipe to Coca-Cola is one of the most guarded trade secrets in the world. If somebody broke into Coca-Cola headquarters or hacked into Coca-Cola's computers and stole that information, that is considered theft, and they would have to go to jail for that or pay a massive fine. But trade secrets are a little bit more ambiguous. Computer code is written, but it also does something. And so computer code actually qualifies for both a patent and a copyright. However, most computer code is copyrighted just because copyrights are way easier to get and they don't expire. A patent expires. Patents have to be renewed every 17 years, whereas copyrights are for life. And the only way a copyright expires is if the person who owned it died without specifying in a will that they were leaving it to someone else, leaving that copyright to someone else. Most computer code is protected under copyright. So you can be breaking the law if you copy and paste somebody else's code, and you're definitely breaking the law if you copy and paste someone's code and then try to sell that program online. Then you will be in a load of trouble. Copyrights, let's talk about those. Copyrights can be both a civil case and a criminal case. In the United States, we have two branches of our law. A civil case is when a citizen sues another citizen. A criminal case is when someone breaks one of the government's laws. Copyright is a government law, but it's also something you do against a person. You are stealing a copyright from them. So where this gets interesting is with, say, pirated movies and music. It is both a crime to steal a copyrighted song, and it is an infraction against a person, which makes it civil. Right now, the FBI has decided they have too much time on their hand. I mean, they have too many crimes on their hands and not enough money or people, that it just isn't worth it for them to go after somebody who is downloading or receiving a pirated movie or music. So the FBI is going after people who distribute it to others, but they haven't really gone after those who um, are just downloading it. You would think, oh, okay, that's good news. That means I can do it. Well, the civil companies, meaning Amazon and Netflix and whoever else is making content out there, Warner Brothers, Disney, Marvel, they actually have ways, and they have entire divisions of their companies who research people who are downloading music and movies, and they file lawsuits against them, and it doesn't actually cost them anything. It costs them a little bit of money, but really they can sue a million people at once. And in fact, this has happened. It just happened a few years ago right here in Utah. Several people woke up who had downloaded pirated movies, and they had a lawyer on their doorstep saying Disney is suing you because they tracked your IP address and found out you were downloading these movies, or you had this app which was pirated movies, and this lawsuits are usually for around $700 to $1,000. They do that on purpose because a lawyer costs a lot more than that. And so if you wanted to fight it, you might be able to win it because there's all kinds of things that come into play, but you'd have to pay a lawyer $5,000 to beat the case, where really they, just pay the $700, right? So, so that's why copyrights, it's important to know, yeah, the FBI might not come after you, or they might, you never know, but right now it's unlikely. However, the studios will, and the studios have, and they continue to do so. So we have to ask the question, well, is it right? Is hacking right? Is pirating right? There is no easy answer to this. Well, actually, there is an easy answer to this, but there are different ways of arguing it. No, it's not right. Before you hear me say anything, no, it is bad. And I'm going to convince you it's bad using these 4 things. These 4 words right here are actually ways of proving that something is good or bad. Egoism is an argument that says it can harm you or it can harm me. And so my egoism argument for pirated movies and music is you can get sued, and you actually could go to jail too. Less likely, but it could happen. And so egoism just says, look at the consequences to you. Look at all the bad things that can happen to you. You could get yourself in a load of hurt. So be careful, right? So that's egoism. It's just focusing on the harmful effects to me. And by the way, egoism's not bad. Don't think it's selfish. Everybody I know makes egoist arguments all the time. And, it's okay to make an egoist argument. If that's all there is, yeah, you're not a complete human being yet, but you're getting there. And so the next one is what's called utilitarianism. Which is not the word I thought I had on there, but utilitarianism means, is it useful? Is it good for everybody? It's kind of a universalism. That's the word I thought it was. Universalism, a utilitarianism, universalism says, does it harm others? Does it hurt others? And so if I were to argue don't pirate movies and music, I would say, it's not just the actors and the directors who make money off of that. In fact, any movie that's ever made, there's thousands of people who work on it. Any music that's produced, there's a team of people on it, and they're not wealthy. Back in the day, people used to say, oh, they're millionaires, it doesn't hurt them at all. Well, yeah, they are, but arguably it doesn't hurt them at all because most of their revenue, at least when it comes to music, most of their revenue comes from concerts. However, and shows. However, there's tons of people who work on that album, who work on that music, sound editors and recording studio people, and they actually get most of the proceeds from the CD sales, is those people. So you are hurting someone. You are taking money away from an honest, hardworking, average, everyday person. So utilitarianism says, what's the harm to everybody else? Is it harming everybody else? Then you have deontology and rule deontology. And deontology is values. It's value driven. And it says that regardless of the good or bad to you or everybody else, there are just some virtues that are important. So if I were to convince you not to pirate movies and TV shows using deontology, I would say greed is bad and you're being greedy. And you're being selfish, and selfishness is bad. Whether or not it hurts anybody, being selfish is bad. Being greedy is bad. Just give them the money. Just pay for it. Just give up whatever else if it's that important to you. It is bad. Don't be greedy. And so that's a deontology argument. So, so that it means there are principles that shouldn't be violated. Then rule deontology is actually the one I'm not the biggest fan of. It's very legalistic, but rule deontology says there are some rules that shouldn't be broken. And so, rule deontology is if I said the Bible says thou shalt not steal, pirated music and movies are stealing, you're a thief, you broke the rules, you go to jail, right? That's rule deontology. Whereas deontology appeals to the principle behind the rule. Rule deontology just says, nope, rules, there's right and there's wrong, and rules are made to not be broken. So you broke the rules, that is bad. And so those are some ethical formulations that are guiding some of the arguments now. I think at the very least, if you're making an ethical argument, particularly when it comes to the internet computers, at the very least, you should be able to identify which of these four you're coming from. At the very least, if you're arguing with people about whether something's right or wrong, it's very good to just be able to say, this is an egoist argument, but I really think you could get hurt, right? Or, yeah, I just subscribe to some principles, and I think those principles are really good to live my life by. One is try not to be greedy and selfish. So you see, these at least help us be more self-aware about the arguments we're making, at least when it comes to ethics and computer. So Edward Snowden was not coming from a deontology, right? He's coming from a utilitarianism view. And the people that hacked the Republicans and Democrats, they are coming from a utilitarianism view. Whereas deontology and rule deontology would still say, nope, you shouldn't do it. So you see how those kind of weave together. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Our case study was already pirating, so we already did that part of it. So hopefully that at least helped you understand some things. Good luck on the quiz, and good luck in your own ethical formulations.